Hey guys, it's Matt. Welcome back to a very special edition of Midnight Reality, where we're going to try to take our collective understanding of what this reality is and how it works to the next level. Now, like I've said many times, it's 50-50. 50% comes from me, but 50%, or even more than half, comes from all the emails and comments and everything you've shared with me, personal experiences about your engagement with this strange reality, things you've researched. 50% or more comes from you. I'm a good amalgamator of information, whatever that means, and I can explain it typically in a way that makes sense to people. So if you're new here, don't worry. We're going to start with the absolute basics. No truth or child left behind. And we're going to try to push our understanding of how this reality works to the next level. And as the old guard knows, this is Wayne's drawing depicting the Notnilk, depicting the screen or the outer ring of reality or the spiritual adversary. And down there in the ring, the one lone spiritual being calls out, all of this for me? No, you're not trapped or tricked to be here. All of this is for us. The entire reality is a truck and tractor pull and a wake-up mechanism that gets more and more insane as the weeks go by. And now it's gone to 10 out of 10. It's gone plaid from a Spaceballs reference. It's a reality wake-up tool designed to draw certain real spiritual beings into a certain understanding about themselves, about what the reality's for, and about certain things they need to do here. Yeah, I know only a tiny little percentage of us are getting it. 99% are on the ship of fools ordering another drink from Isaac. I understand that. But that doesn't matter to me. If only 5,000 of us get it and billions go down with the ship of fools, so be it. This is a worry about yourself exercise. So one more minute on Wayne's drawing before we shift over to the old concentric rings reality diagram, which I introduced almost as a joke 6 years ago, saying, could it work like this? And then every single week that's gone by, it's proof, the concentric rings diagram showing you as heart center and the screen on the outer edge trying to reach its greasy hand into your heart center. It's basically proven to be true. Well, Matt, when you introduced it, it wasn't true. We manifested it, maybe. And in that way, we actually have to be very careful, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Is the screen and the Notnilk still using us where we believe we've broken free? We have to always leave that on the table. But one more minute on Wayne's drawing. Someone may come along and say, the complexity, look at the nature of the trick all around the real spiritual being. Sure, Matt, you and I, we see through the news events and look at that succubus Norah O'Donnell and say, that can't be real. Who would believe that horse shit? A few of us see through it, but most of the spiritual beings here on the ship of fools, it doesn't mean everybody that's on the ship of fools is an NPC. Look at the complexity and the nature of the trick. Certainly, this place has to be a prison. Certainly, we weren't meant to be here, just the opposite. This reality is a wake-up mechanism for you to go through a process to understand certain things about what it is and what you are. Without, you ever hear of the School of Hard Knocks, or you learn more on the street than you do in the classroom, and you have to go through it to actually learn something? Did you ever learn something from a book and say, I got it? I just read it in this book. I don't have to experience it myself. No, you see, that you have to experience it yourself. You see how that works? And regarding those who claim to know what this reality is, the rule of opposites in this area has never been wrong. Who claims to know the most? The professors in the Ivy League in Oxford and Cambridge, and the astronomers and the scientists. Rule of opposites. They are the most fooled in terms of bowing down before the trick. They are the most lost. And again, another aspect of the rule of opposites. Notnilk loves the fact that everybody's fooled, so they make the most money. They're the most lauded. They're the most respected. Neil of the Grass-Fed, Mitch Pikachu. Those people are put on a pedestal, paid a lot of money, and looked upon as experts. The rule of opposites in this area has never been wrong. The Notnilk will always put to the forefront those that are going to mislead and are going to propagate the greatest aspects of the trick. But those that represent the actual Notnilk and the spiritual adversary know exactly what's going on. They laugh at the research being done at the university research parks. They laugh and know they're spinning their wheels in the wrong direction. If anything of any note ever came out of a university, they'd come right in and shut it down and take it over for themselves. These creeps know exactly what this reality's for, and they know their role. To a degree, Tony described him as a different spiritual being than you are, a different spiritual entity than you are. And if there are two different types, to me it means there are multiple different types of spiritual beings on this plane called Earth. They understand their role. They know what this place is. They know it's a fluid reality. They know that every scientific textbook describing what this reality is, the Earth, the cosmos, they know it is 179.5 degrees horse shit. Okay, this is the fifth re-recording. The main concept behind this midnight reality, I just can't get out in a way that makes any sense. And it is absolutely insane to anybody but the oldest of the old guard. So I have to do this very slowly, one step at a time. First off, please don't read this. The sentences, the words are irrelevant to what we're talking about. I simply call your attention to the date in the middle, March 4th, 1933. They're the same numbers, repeating scripts, themes, gematria, etc. At the bottom, Congress responded by appropriating $3.3 billion under the national blah, blah, blah. And somebody's saying, well, yeah, Matt, of course. So the 33s come all the time when you dive into your research. The 9 paired with the 11, the same repeating scripts and themes. Exactly. They come every single time. Yeah, we're becoming habituated. We're like, yeah, so, and Matt will do his oh no again. From March 4th, oh no. 1933. Like, okay, Matt, it was funny in 1926. Okay, guys, every single time I will dive into a research topic, the same numbers, repeating scripts, themes, not no travel tours. The indigenous people are screwed over. Now, this is from Jeff. And when I dive into my research, we see this over and over. But Jeff, over the years, will continue my research for whatever reason. 2 videos back, it was the torpedo, the Mark 14, and how it didn't explode properly. And he'll take one little thing I mentioned and just go off on his own and do his research. And every single time from Jeff, this is what happens, and he sends back to me. He immediately runs into the 1933, the 33, the 3.3. This invention occurred in 1911, the 9 paired with the 11, the repeating scripts and themes. It's not just me, it's not just Jeff. Others have seen this. Now, this is, of course, a fake world marker. Okay, these are little tiny fragments or little tiny symptoms of a fake world. But what I want to get into here is, are we manifesting it ourselves? What are the chances that every single time a real spiritual being, whether it be me, you, Jeff, etc., dive into the rabbit hole, really get into the research on a certain topic, the same numbers, the same repeating scripts and themes, we expect to have that happen to us. We expect to have that come back. So are we manifesting it ourselves? And if anybody's new, I don't have any other way to say it. This is insane. Is reality shifting as we do our research to line up with what we expect to find? Literally history changing because of our research. That's where I'm going with this. And at this point, we've seen this so many thousands of times. That might be the only explanation. Now, this actually maybe made sense, and I can keep this recording. Now, this is another screenshot from Jeff regarding his continued research of what I was looking at 2 videos back on the Mark 14 torpedo, 1933 to 37, at the end of 1933, blah, 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 blah. Now, the biggest objection to this, especially if you're new here, will be, obviously, Matt, you guys are focused on the 33. It's not coming up with any more prominence than any other number. You're latching onto it because of all the graduated animal farms you truth idiots have been through, or for years you were so fixated, all 33-degree Freemason and all that bullshit. You're fixated on it. So it's not, Matt, it's not coming up any more than any other number. You just assign it more significance. Really? I had no idea that could be a possibility. I hadn't discounted for that at all. No, I've been very aware of that possibility since we've been doing this. And I can assure you, there's no way I'm just latching onto it, and it's no more prominent or prevalent than any other number. No, the same scripts, themes, numbers, gematria, etc. comes almost every single time we look into a topic. It comes unnaturally. It's a symptom of fake world. But it's what I'm saying in trying to take our understanding further, it's more than that. I'm saying our research, the research of a real spiritual being, we are actually a factor in having it show up. That is what I'm saying. These are the two most recent videos on my channel. The video about the Mark 14 torpedo and how it wouldn't explode properly for the first 2 years of World War II is on the right. Crazy man proposes new World War II conspiracy. I know most of you saw the video. Let me just go over what happened one more time. I'm watching Vintage Verse YouTube channel about old forgotten movie classics, and this was about submarine movies. Here's Operation Pacific being presented with John Wayne. I'd never heard of the movie. No, I'm not saying it's a Mandela effect because I never heard of it. No, I just never heard of it. It's that simple. Okay, so I'm watching, and the movie is about how this torpedo will not explode properly. A famous John Wayne sub movie, but it's rather old. I believe it's in black and white. And then the Vintage Verse actually starts putting in real quotes from admirals that this is real history. The John Wayne movie is depicting something that really happens. This torpedo didn't explode more than a small percentage of the time for the first 2 years of World War II. So instantly I say that's all not milk. That there's just no way. That's just not possible without Nautnuk being behind it 100%. So in the first 30 minutes of my research, the Wikipedia, wherever I went, immediately started to show me that I was right, that it obviously was all Nautnuk planned out. And it's just, reality lined up too perfectly, folks. I don't know if this is coming out properly, but either I'm some sort of genius, and just hearing about a John Wayne movie, in just 2 minutes, I can say, oh, this movie's depicting real history about a torpedo didn't explode. That is all Nautnuk. That's 100% planned. That's such Nautnuk tactics. I'm some sort of genius, and I can just pick out in a second what the Nautnuk's up to. Or there's other possibility here. I'm not some sort of genius. And I believed that wholeheartedly because we have seen the Nautnuk do things like that before, wanting to extend the length of World War II. That's nothing new to the old guard. And the old guard's on, it's amazing they didn't make it 20 years, World War II. Of course they wanted to extend it. That's nothing new to the old guard. It's not insane at all if you're new here. The Nautnuk does things like this. The really weird thing, or the reality giveaway to me, was how easily I found the evidence that lined up with my contention that this was all by design. Within just 20 to 30 minutes of going to Wikipedia and certain history websites, all the ridiculous circumstances and facts were lining up. And remember, I said I found evidence that they didn't test it before they put it into the field in World War II. I mean, that is literally ridiculous. That's like a reality breakdown. How quickly I found the evidence to line up with my initial notion or premise is what kind of gives reality away. Let's just say I was watching Vintage Verse and they presented Operation Pacific, and I said, that sounds like Nautnuk. There's no way a torpedo would have trouble exploding in the first 2 years, especially after World War I was a gigantic testing ground of firing off thousands and tens of thousands of torpedoes. They know exactly what it takes to have a torpedo explode properly. Maybe there's problems with its direction or how it's maneuvering around the water, but the explosion part is the one thing you would get right. I would think it would be over 99%, not dud, dud, dud. Boom! Oh, we got 1 out of 6. Was that 1 out of 5? Whatever. It doesn't make any sense. So just with a little research, all these ridiculous things in history started to line. Matt, you insane or something? Let me get this straight. You come up here with your Jimmy, no appointment, no nothing. You saying reality shifted as you're doing your research. You're a whack job, boy. Yeah, it sounds a little strange. I know. Maybe not just a little strange. It sounds insane. But I have no other explanation at this time, and we've seen this sort of thing now over 1,000 times in a row. It happens the same way every time. You've heard me say, not milk never disappoints. This is exactly what I'm saying. It's not like I was watching Vintage Verse, Operation Pacific. Oh, that sounds like the Not Milk. I'll never get any information on the web and Wikipedia, so I guess I'll just pack my van full. I've got the Scooby snacks and the Mystery Machine all packed up to the top, and I'll drive down to Washington, D.C., and I will try to some way get into the rare books room of the Library of Congress. And I can't get the information through regular sources. I need to get into the old books with the cobwebs. And it's like, we don't just let anybody into this rare books room. Who are you? I'm a YouTuber. About what? About fake world and how this government's corrupt? Oh, okay. Come right in. I mean, did I get into some part of the Library of Congress, and did I uncover some information that really should have been kept in the Vatican Library? And then I kind of exposed how this torpedo was intentionally manipulated so it wouldn't explode properly, potentially to extend the war. No, all the information and all the evidence that completely validated my position came in just 15 or 20 minutes of web research. And I know your friends and family and your best friend and Aunt Ginny would see it the other way, but how does anybody possibly see it the other way when I'm finding things like the Department of Defense cares about your tax dollar? And it said right in what I found online, a $10,000 torpedo is very expensive, and they didn't do field testing. What? That's a reality breakdown. That just doesn't make any sense in any reality. So what I'm saying, guys, is this is a possibility at this point. Please don't people, as I say in every video now, they hear what they want to hear. Comments in the last video, oh, you believe just because of this and that it's a Mandela effect? When I had 2 segments in that video where I specifically said, I'm not declaring it a Mandela effect. I'm saying that's a possibility because I'd never heard of PJM or whatever. And as I said, I specifically addressed, people hear what they want to hear. And even though I did that twice in the last video, people said, oh, you just never heard of it, so you say it's a Mandela effect. Did you even listen to the last video and what I said about not doing that? And I'm going to do that here. I'm not saying for sure, 100%, that every time I go to do the research, Jeff goes to do the research, and reality, like a Rubik's Cube, just shifts around and lines up to show us the ridiculous elements that we expect to find. But I've seen it so many times, and I've been doing this pushing 16 years now, that I'm keeping that on the table as being probable at this. I'm not going there yet because that is insane. I'll just say it's possible. It is possible that before I went to do the research, it made more sense as to why the torpedo didn't explode properly. I'm saying it's possible reality itself changes as a real spiritual being dives into the research. It's possible this reality has gotten to a level of fluidity that they didn't anticipate. And this sort of thing is possible. This is not the same world and same reality that existed in the last millennium or century. 2001, who knows what happened when they rolled those knuckle bones. Things are different today, much more fluid. Which brings us to the old reality concentric rings diagram. And I know it's small on people's phones, and if you're new, don't try to read it. You won't understand it. I'll walk you through everything you need to know. Don't try to dive into the weeds on it. And I know someone will point out it doesn't say Dances with Wolves. It says like Dances with Wolves. So I know that after 7 years of presenting this, I know it says Dances with Wolves. Just leave the good person that did this for us, leave him alone. So, Pootie Tang Award. So, sorry guys. My contention is there are multiple different realities going on, even person to person. But in this case, the old term that certain mysterious YouTube channels used to float out, called a reality overlay, to a degree is accurate, in my opinion. I didn't just jump onto that key term when it was first thrown out 8 years ago. That sounds good. I'm going to start talking about the reality overlay. It took me about 8 years to figure out potentially what that means and what's going on here. In my opinion, there are 2 separate realities, at least 2. There's your heart-centered reality, which may be different person to person, but let's just keep this at the smaller scale for now. What is immediately around you right now? It's very stable, right? It's very predictable. It's very believable. It's very real, what's around you now. All the way on the outer ring is the screen reality. To me, that is a different reality. So, what is the screen? It's a false history that comes from Wikipedia. It's a fake event on the news. It's a politician taking a podium saying, we have to tighten our fiscal belt and this debt's getting out of control. Sir, do you even know that the debt can't be reduced or the entire system would collapse? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just a congressman. I vote the way they tell me to vote. It's a politician. It's Hollywood. It's Neil of the Grass-Fed presenting his fake version of what the cosmos is. The screen is constantly trying to influence you, and it uses, from time to time, real beings, and they might not all be NPCs or Alec Baldwin types. It may be using real spirits to propagate its ruse and its lie. So it's the news. It's everything it's Charlie, James T. and Spock. It's those types of events. This is the screen reality that, what does it do? It's desperate for a real spiritual being to engage with it. It's like it needs to merge with the center or the source of energy on this realm, which is your heart center. Now, the biggest trick of this entire place is it seems like we're all together here. We're all in the same place. Everyone's here together on the same level playing field, on the same level of the elevator. We're all here together, and I don't think that's the case. Those that are coming from the screen are actually, in my opinion, it's very hard to talk about, in a different reality than your heart-centered. The trick is it all seems the same, and the screen reality is desperate to basically get to have us merge together, to become part of your heart center, for you to reach out and to bind with it, for it to bind with you, for it to for the realities to merge together. Now, that is, I don't even truly understand what that means. And I understand in his motorcade, George W. Bush and the rest of the creatures can just drive by you. Well, if they can just drive by you, and I've used this horrible example before, we're all in the same reality. You could run into the street and they'd have to stop the motorcade. You'd be arrested, but does it really mean we're in the same reality? I don't know how to talk about it. The best place to start is to probably point out the difference between your heart-centered reality bubble and screen reality. Heart-centered reality is very stable. It's very fixed. It's very predictable what's around you right now. Screen reality is becoming more insane and chaotic by the day. I've told you, I've gone back to CNN and BBC and news websites just after 1 week, and the headlines are more ridiculous than they were just a week before. That reality is completely in free fall mode. Absolute chaos. Absolute ridiculousness. It is the Chaos Lords from the Michael Moorcock, don't laugh, the Michael Moorcock Elric books. The Chaos Lords in certain or on certain worlds had won, and the worlds themselves where the Lords of Law had been pushed out and the balance was no longer maintained. The Chaos Lords had the realm just an absolute mess. Nothing holds form. One color turns into the next. The sea can't hold its shape. The land can't hold its shape. Everything merges together. Nothing can survive in a realm, at least according to Michael Moorcock. Don't laugh. The Elric books. That's what the role of the Chaos Lords here seems to want to do. To merge or to push this world into absolute chaos. It cannot accomplish that on its own. The heart-centered reality from real spiritual beings is the energy that drives this place. All is mind. It has to work through you. You have to shake hands with its greasy tentacle and agree to be on the ship of fools so it can use the creative powers of the real spiritual being to melt the world down into further chaos. I focused in on this section just so I could highlight what I call the shaking of the hands, which I think is the most important part of the concentric reality rings diagram. There is a hand or a slimy appendage coming down from this screen, and it's asking for your attention. It's begging you to shake hands with it. And if you agree to shake hands with it, if you agree to let it in, the shaking of the hands where the person that you know down the street or your cousin or your best friend starts to merge with the ship of fools, that shaking of the hand has to come through the brain, through the ego mind, through the parts of the frontal lobe that it's manipulated. It can't get into your heart-centered reality directly. It can't get into the source of energy for this entire realm directly. All is mind. Nothing here would exist without real creative spiritual beings. It can't just waltz into your reality bubble. You have to agree through the parts of the brain, that's the way out, that's the door, to shake hands with it. You have to book yourself onto the ship of fools. There ain't no travel agent. You have to book yourself onto the ship of fools. And it's not just the hand coming down, one of its slimy agents like Larry Silverfish or Christine Lagarde or Santa Claus Schwab or Alec Baldwin creatures. It's not just the hand of a minion. The hand also represents a news story that begs for you to believe in it. The hand is a story about a space mission that it begs and expects you to believe in. The hand is every way that the brain, that is the ambassador of the heart-centered reality, is manipulated and agrees to want to merge with the outer ring or to shake hands with it. And as I'm talking, I'm looking just above the heart. It says dances with wolves. And oh my God, if anybody comments, every single time I've ever done this reality diagram, I get a comment. This is going back almost 6 years. Somebody mad, it says dancing with wolves. If I get that comment, I might have to shut the channel down. I don't think I could take it. If you follow the heart up to the top, part of it's cut off, but the outer ring says the screen. It can't just, again, jump into your heart-centered reality. This is the best news of all time. You have to let it in. But everybody around us, think of your cousins and your friends. Everybody's letting it in. It's the Paul McCartney again. Some not nooks knocking at the door. Some not nooks ringing a bell. He says that sick individual, Billy or whatever, it's not even really him. He says, do me a favor, open the door, let it in. That's what Dr. Weir said on the Event Horizon. Open the door, let it in. But see, the best news of all time is it just can't get in. You have to let it in, and it works its way down through the rings, through society and culture. And it's rock and roll, and it's Hollywood, and everything that permeates through society, and it's AI, and it will work down until it gets in that ring that's just above your heart center, where if you live in there, in your ego head-based reality, if you live in there, it can get to you. See, from the ego head-based reality level, that's where the hand extends from the brain and says, not milk, somebody, you knocking at the door, somebody ringing a bell. Oh, I want to be on a ship of fools. I want to line up with your metrics of success and to seek your standards for fame and to get your likes. And I want to be respected by my best friends who covet K-pop. Is that what it's called? That horse shit. If you're in that realm above the heart center, it can get to you. Ego head-based reality. And one of the ways it does it is the spellcraft of English, but I have no other alternative in speaking to you. I have to communicate, but at least I realize it's the spellcraft of English, and we have our armor up. We have our armor up to repel all of its tricks. That's why armor is all over this concentric rings reality diagram. I have to use English. I'm going to think about what I want to tell you next, but this doesn't work. Did you get that? I explained this whole concept telepathically. You didn't get it, though. This doesn't work. It doesn't work. I thought I was a decent telepath, but nobody got it. So I have to communicate to you via the spellcraft of English. Do not see that ring. That's probably the most important part of this diagram. Ego head-based reality, that huge ring of the moat. If you live in there, you letting it in. You bending over the barrel. We have to use the frontal lobes. Ego still will always play a role, even with us, and have to speak in English, and of course, but it needs to serve your heart-centered reality. People are living in that outer ring, which is closest to society, which lets the screen in. That's why almost everybody we know is completely contented on the ship of fools, ordering another drink from Isaac and getting whacked off with lube. And remembering this video from a few years ago, the First Continental Railroad, originally known as the Pacific Railroad or later as the Overland Route, was a 1,911 mile, 1911 continuous railroad. Well, we know it's a continuous. Pootie Tang Award, built between 1863 and 1869. This wasn't the first time this came up, guys. But this was a definitive point in the video I made about it. We're saying, okay, at the very minimum, these numbers, these same things showing up over and over, is at the very minimum a symptom of a completely fake world. Or at least per our concentric rings diagram, the outer ring is very fluid and it's just all sorts of effed up. And it's for some reason it just has to keep repeating the same and changing its history to repeat the same themes and numbers and 33s and gematria, etc. But this has happened so much. And per the last email I exchanged with Jeff, I said, we are a factor, a heart-centered reality of the real spiritual being is the driver of this reality. I mean, as people understand how things work, there is no out there. Everything comes from us. All is mind, etc., etc. And in a way, in terms when we go off to do our research, are we actually creating this? And you know what? It's fun to talk about. And I guess as these examples keep coming in the thousands, we'll refine our theories. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the basics we know. We know the basics. We know there is no reality out there. It all comes from us, the heart-centered reality outward. There is no Big Bang, and everything is the rule of opposites. Evolution. We came from single-cell organisms, of which there is no such thing as a two-cell organism or three-cell. There's single-cell, and then it jumps to multi-cell, but there ain't no, where's the two-cell organism sitting on a rock? It's ridiculous. Darwin's ridiculous. The Big Bang is ridiculous. We came from marmot, then through monkey man. It's all the opposite. Rule of opposites means we know that's all false. 100%. There is zero basis for Darwin, zero in terms of how anything works in this reality. Then we know the opposite is true, that consciousness came before anything physical. And if we know that is 100% true, not 99%, I'm pretty sure, 100% consciousness came before anything physical, then you don't have to be a double slit. You don't have to do any. You don't have to believe in no double. It's that. I don't need the double slit to make that statement. Then is it so if everything comes from consciousness, everything, is it so ridiculous then to say that when I dive into research and I expect to see certain things that I'm shown certain things? Is that so absurd then? So let me get this straight. Over here, you'll say, I kind of agree, man. All is mind and consciousness came first and all this physical stuff is a byproduct of consciousness. And I agree with your rule of opposites. But for you to go forth and say that all Wikipedia is changing based on your research, that's ridiculous. You know what's ridiculous is saying that's ridiculous. You can't say you believe in what I'm saying. You're down with me over here on all this stuff. Oh, I'm down with the Kabbalah on all is mind, rule number one. And I'm down that nothing physical can exist without real consciousness and real spiritual beings. Then for me to go over and say, well, as I go to do the research, is it lining up and showing me what I expect? That isn't ridiculous then if you believe the first part. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir? They're the same exact thing. But people that believe me over here will say that second part's crazy. Yeah, okay, whatever. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow at freevoice.io.